Hello, everybody. Here we are again. I am with my dear friend, Mr. Nikita, and today we're going to talk about a poem for the second episode of Culture Corner. And at the end, we're going to have a question, and a very special friend of ours is going to answer that question. Okay? So, Nikita, how are you today?
Well, man, I'm really well. How are you?
Good. I'm fine. Working like crazy, but I'm fine. You know that. So,
I do.
yeah. So, what are we talking about today?
Today, as we decided to do, we're
Mm-hmm.
talking about a novel, actually.
Mm-hmm.
It is written by a British author. His name is Sir Arthur Conan Doyle,
Yeah. What? Yeah.
and it's about a very, very famous detective. I'm sure people know.
And let's just remind people, why have you suggested us to read this poem and why?
Yeah,
It's a
good.
short story, actually, not a
It
poem.
is. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's I just think that this kind of reading lets people, see what it was like and
Mm-hmm.
what people like spoke some time ago, what language people spoke some time ago. Of
Yeah.
course, it was English, of course,
Mm-hmm.
but even the style this poem is written in,
Mm-hmm.
it's it's unique. It shows that time, that kind of language,
Mm-hmm.
and when we go into the poem, I will talk a bit more about it, but
Mm-hmm.
it's just a very beautiful and really nice thing to read,
Yeah.
and Sherlock Holmes, I
Mm-hmm.
just think it's classic, and it's
Yeah.
a very important part of British literature,
Yeah.
and literature is, well, it's culture, right?
Mm-hmm.
We can talk about it as being a cultural thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Mm-hmm.
why we're talking about it.
Mm-hmm. And as it's a very long short story, we're gonna leave the full short story in the comments so people
Yeah.
can read it, and we're gonna talk about some parts of the short story. So could you
Hmm.
please read the parts that we set apart for the show?
Okay. Okay. I think it's worth just giving some context, right?
Yeah.
Uh, th- basically, this story is called Charles Augustine Millerton,
Mm-hmm.
and it's actually a name the name of the character
Mm-hmm.
in this story. And he's this guy is a really, really bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
Holmes actually says that, all Holmes met a lot of people, and he met lots of criminals, he
Mm-hmm.
met lots of police officers, but this particular person,
Mm-hmm.
well, he seems really terrible. He blackmails people, he uh, demands demands certain things from them, like
Mm-hmm.
money, maybe some kind of services,
Mm-hmm.
like do this for me, and then I will not blackmail you and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
not a very good person.
Yeah.
And there is a lady involved,
Yeah.
and she asks Holmes to help her
Mm-hmm.
because this Charles Augustine, he is trying to blackmail her, and
Yeah.
she's going to marry some important
Yeah.
guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's in a nutshell version.
Okay.
And
Uh-huh.
here comes the part.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, Holmes and Watson decided to burgle Charles
Mm-hmm.
in order to, well, in order to get some important papers that that lady wants to get. Well, so here it goes. Here it goes. I nodded and stood by the door. My first feeling of fear had passed away, and I thrilled now with a near zest than I had ever enjoyed. When we were the defenders of the law instead of its defiers, the high object of our mission, the consciousness that it was unselfish and chivalrous, the vileness character of our opponent, all added to the sporting instead of its fires. The high object of interest of the adventure. Far from feeling guilty, I rejoiced and executed in our dangers. With a glow of admiration, I watched Holmes unrolling his case of instruments and choosing his tool with the calm, scientific accuracy of a surgeon who performs a delicate operation. I knew that the opening of safes was a particular hobby with him, and I understood the joy which it gave him to be confronted with this green and gold monster. The dragon which held in its maw the reputations of many fair ladies. Turning up the cuffs of his dress coat, he had placed his overcoat on a chair. Holmes laid out 2 drills, a jemmy, and several skeleton keys. I stood at the center door with my eyes glancing at each other's, ready for any emergency. Though indeed my plans were somewhat vague as to what I should do if we were interrupted. For half an hour, Holmes walked with concentrated energy, laying down one tool, picking up another, handling each with the strength and delicacy of the trained mechanic. Finally, I heard a click. The broad green door swung open, and instead I had a glimpse of a number of paper packets, each tied, sealed, and inscribed. Holmes picked one out, but it was as hard to read by the flickering fire, and he drew out his little dark lantern, for it was too dangerous, with Milverton in the next room, to switch on the electric light. Suddenly, I saw him halt, listen intently, and then in an instant, he had swung the door of the safe to, picked up his coat, stuffed his tools into the pockets, and darted behind the window curtain. Motion me to do the same. So, this is one paragraph.
Yes. So let me tell you something. I think, first of all, when you read it, that is a very pictorial reading, you know?
Yeah.
And it has a very, I have to go into literature to analyze it because it's very pictorial and people could imagine. Pictorial, for those who don't know, is when you describe the scene and you can clearly see what the author is saying. So all the things that there is in this part that Nikita read, for me, I wanna hear it from you then. But for me, it was extremely pictorial, and it was a vocabulary, a very high level vocabulary in terms of it's not an informal conversation, and
it is not.
We can clearly see that it was a conversation from people who knew exactly what they were talking about, and also aristocrats in that part.
Yeah.
You know, so that's what we can clearly see, and I think that's the main touch of the author. He always does this. He always works with a high level vocabulary, saying like, "Oh, my reading is not for any kind of person." Something that doesn't happen today, you know, because today all the famous authors, they try to write in a way where they can draw the attention of every single person in the mainstream, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So but I think it's a very good and interesting thing if you want to learn like a high level vocabulary for international certification tests and something like
Mm-hmm.
that. So when you suggested this story, I myself, I didn't know the story before. When I knew the story, I said, "Oh, that's right." And the first thing that I could see that it was really pictorial and the vocabulary was really high
Mm-hmm.
level. That's what I can say. You know, because
Yeah.
when he says the word, the door swung open. You know, so this is a description because it
Yep.
when the door opened suddenly and widely. You know, in another way that we can say in a simpler way
Yeah.
as we say in English now, in lay terms, in layman's terms, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really
Yep.
good. And if you want to get ready for international certification, you have to read these kinds of things along with studying the things that you need to study. But it's really good.
Mm-hmm.
It's really as we call high literature today. So that's
Yeah.
my take on that. What do you think?
Well, I agree with you. Yeah, man.
Uh-huh, uh-huh,
That's actually one of the things that people should,
hmm
well, think about
hmm
when they choose what to read.
hmm
Because if you want to prepare for, well, let's say an exam, you are gonna be describing something in
yeah,
some part of the exam. And
hmm
when you get this kind of reading,
hmm
you can clearly see that the author is, well, painting a picture for you.
yeah,
And when you get to when you basically get familiar with the way
hmm
author does it,
hmm
you
yeah,
can copy it, right? You can try to do it yourself, and
hmm
uh, it it makes your, well, it makes your English, well, more flexible in a
yeah.
way.
You
You,
improve your English.
yeah, of course, of
Yeah,
course. I
hmm
mean, you get better and better at describing things.
yeah,
Well, and it's such an important thing, when you
hmm
tell a story to your friend,
hmm
you don't want to sound dull, you don't want to
hmm
sound like boring,
hmm
you don't want to sound, well, simple. You want to be interesting. You want to describe things, well, in as much details as you
yeah,
can.
yeah,
And so
uh-huh,
this is really beneficial for
yeah.
you.
I agree. There's
Mm-hmm.
something really funny that I used to say when I was in college. When we
Okay.
had to read this kind of literature, I would say, "Hey, I just read the part where the guy took 3 pages to describe a door." And it's completely that, you know. He takes 3 pages of the book just describing the door. But that's
Uh-huh.
the way literature used to be before. Because
Mm.
at that time, literature was the only way of culture. But now
Mm-hmm.
we have 15-second generation videos, you know,
Yeah.
and at that time, if you needed to read the description of a door for 15 minutes, you would read it
Mm-hmm.
because you had
Mm-hmm.
nothing else to do, you know, and it was really
Well,
good.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's something that we have to compare today how time changes. Because
Mm-hmm.
now we are living the hurry times. We are in a
Yeah.
hurry constantly. Like
Right.
if you record a 20-minute video here on YouTube, people maybe don't watch it because people are getting
Mm-hmm.
used to the short videos on social medias like TikTok, Kwai, and whatever, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but in this time when this book was written, people would read the books under a candle lights, you know. So that
Yeah.
was the moment, or maybe they would um, make a reunion with their family and they would keep reading. And when they got
Mm-hmm.
tired, another person would read. So That's so important because now we try to syncopate everything that we can, like
Mm,
in a shorter way. But at that
yeah,
time, the longer the better. Like the book
yeah,
would have 800 pages, 700 pages, 300
mhm,
pages. Like as you said to me when you sent me the link, this reading is going to be like 15 minutes long. Maybe people don't want to read it for 15 minutes. And people now, we
yeah,
also, they found a new way to sell books now because people don't want to read it anymore. Some of them, I'm not going to generalize what I'm saying, but some people prefer the audiobooks.
of course, yeah,
That's
yeah,
because they're reading. That's why podcasts today are so famous and so in vogue, let's say, you know.
yeah,
And
yeah,
but I agree with you. I think that it's a very good reading, and and also it's a good practice if the person who reads it does the way you did, read it out loud, you know
yeah, yeah,
because you are practicing your pronunciation, you are practicing rhythm and
mhm,
intonation. That's what we have to
right,
encourage people to do, you know. So
yeah,
I think this reading and this poem, this short story actually,
mm,
it is really good. I want to thank you because you really hit the nail on the head, so it is
yeah,
really good, and I think people should read it, and I think it was really important to talk about it, you know and why
mhm,
do you like Arthur Conan Doyle so much? I'm curious now.
mm. Well, uh, why would you like an author? I
Yeah,
mean, because of his style, probably,
yeah,
and because of the descriptions
yeah,
he gives,
yeah,
and the language. I mean,
yeah.
the language of that time. Actually, and
We
it
we
just
can
seems.
say we can say that you are an old soul.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
you
yeah,
are a young man in an old soul.
probably, yeah, probably,
Yeah,
because when you go on social media and you see people using all these contractions, not writing
yeah,
properly,
yeah,
just I well,
yeah,
I don't really disapprove of it, no,
yeah.
but when I see this beautiful and structured text with
Mhm,
all the words spelled as they should be,
mhm,
and when I see those ugly contractions,
yeah,
I'm just, well, no, that's just not my cup of tea.
yeah.
I prefer something like
So
this.
let's say that you are saying that you're not a big fan of relaxed speech.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, you would say
that's what
so,
we
yeah.
see. That's what we see most in movies now. You know.
Yep,
But I
yeah.
understand you. And when I'm reading a book, sometimes uh, I am so used of the practice of reading out loud for 1 hour and a half. So I keep reading and I don't see the time go by.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm forcing my voice to do so. So
Mm-hmm.
if people want to read this, which is really good, it's a really good story, we're gonna leave the link down below.
Yep.
And thank you for bringing this because the part that you read is really amazing, and I hope people like it and they can read the whole story. And let us know in the comments if they
Mm-hmm.
read it out loud as you did, you know,
Yeah,
and
actually, just
if the words were too difficult for them or not.
one little thing.
Yeah.
If you wanna really push it further,
Hmm.
try to listen to an audiobook
Yeah.
while you are reading
Yeah. Yeah.
and try to shadow that person.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's well, it's my favorite way of reading books
Hmm.
now. I listen to it
Yeah.
while I'm reading.
Let me tell you something. When I read the Harry Potter books,
Hmm.
I had the chance to buy either the American version or the British version. As I was educated in American English, I bought the
Okay.
American version, but you can
Uh-huh.
choose now. Maybe you can find this poem read in two ways. So I think it was really good. It was a brilliant idea, and I would really like to thank you for bringing this, you know. And to end the show, I would like to say that we're going to have another guest talking about culture at the end of the video. Nikita,
Mhm.
you want to say something before we go? Something else before we go?
Well, I hope I hope you like this video, guys. And if you wanna see us talking about something else that somehow relates to culture, just leave your comments down
Mhm.
below.
And I'm gonna let the cat out of the bag a little bit. Nikita
Uh-huh.
and I are gonna bring some huge news for you guys quite soon. Just wait
Mm.
and check it out. Something really fun is coming in. Okay?
Oh, actually, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
we see you next month with the Culture Corner, episode 3. And I hope you enjoy our friend who's talking at the end of this episode. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you. See you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Goodbye, guys.
Hello and welcome everybody in this video. This is Ahmed speaking up to you. I would like to talk a little bit about culture. So, what is culture? For me, from my point of view, I can say that culture encompasses religious or religion. It encompasses food. It encompasses also the language that we speak, what we were and when we were, the way we get married, and even the music that we hear and listen to. And you can see that in this word we have so many different languages and so many different cultures. And nobody can live without a culture. It's something like the same way that you need water for living, you need culture to live and to socialize with people. For me, I think that culture is the way that you live in every single detail. The way you wear, the way you talk, and the way you eat is coming to you or came to you from your grandfathers, from your ancestors. It's like a heritage of a country. By the way, you can say that this person is Arabian, or like he's from Scotland or any country, just from looking to his clothes, from his haircut, from his beard, if he's a Muslim, from her scarf, if she is a Muslim. So um, we can um, we can actually differ between people and know from where they are just from their culture. So culture is everything in this life. So never feel ashamed from showing your culture, because your grandfathers gave it to you and they sticked on their culture, and you need to do the same. And I really hope from everyone to respect others' cultures. Never underestimate from others' culture. Never make them feel that their culture is nothing. And no, culture is everything. Please respect the differences. Thank you very much.
Hello, it's Rod's friend here, Gino from Real Everyday English. Sorry for interrupting your video. I just want to make a quick recommendation that you subscribe to Rodrigo's channel. He's an amazing guy, he's so humble, he's so dedicated, and he creates absolutely fantastic content. Sorry for interrupting your video. Don't forget to subscribe. See you people soon. Bye bye. God bless.